Into the 2026 World Cup semi-finals we go now. That's right, with 4 nations left. No, 2 places left in the grand final. Who's it going to be? We're going to get into that more next. That's what back once again with another video. Today we're taking a look at the 2026 World Cup. It's the semi-finals, that's right, with 4 countries left, but only 2 spots remaining to see who, of course, will be in that final. Who's it going to be? That's right, we're going to get into that and much more in just 1 second. If you know where you've been, stop what you're doing, swallow what you're doing, smash your subscribe, your one-stop shop for Blackburn Rovers World Cup predictions right here under one Rooski. Of course, we had some absolutely cracking quarterfinals, but now we're left with just 4 clubs in the mix. So who's it going to be? Well, we'll get into it in a minute. Big shout out to my members and the patrons. You know who you are. But let's waste no further time. Of course, jump into it. But before that, get in there with the old like button. Smash the old likes. 80 likes if you can. But we are going to recap what went down to get to this stage into the semi-final. So sit tight, hold on, and let's get into it then. Of course, we're reminding ourselves, of course, of the prediction league. It's 100% free. Get in there. See, of course, we'll win it, and we'll do the reveal in the next video, which will be the final. But let's remind ourselves of the groups. Of course, Mexico, South Africa, topping Groups A to go through. They were joined by Switzerland, Canada, and Bosnia-Herzegovina. Made it through to the knockout stages. Brazil, Morocco also went through via Group C. Group D had 3 countries, USA, Australia, and Paraguay. Germany, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador also joined them. They were, of course, received also with Netherlands, Japan, and Sweden in Group F. Group J saw Belgium and Egypt. H had Spain and Cabo Verde. Group I had France, of course, one of the semi-finals, Norway, Senegal, Argentina, of course, in Group J, Austria, as well as Algeria making it through, and Colombia, Portugal, DR Congo, and finally England, yet another semi-final. Croatia and Ghana made up the representatives of that the old group stages. What about, of course, the lucky losers, if you like? Well, this is the lucky losers table. As for lucky losers, of course, it was DR Congo, Sweden, Ghana, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Algeria, Paraguay, and Senegal who made it through, of course, and they joined us in this spangdagulous fantagulous, which was, of course, the bracket, of course. Let's go through that one by one, of course, to bring it back up to date with where we are, which of course is the semi-finals. We saw Paraguay take care of business against Germany, biggest upset of the World Cup. Le Bleu, of course, beating Sweden. We had Canada knocking out South Africa. Of course, a tragedy over in Bafana there, of course, losing one of their men this past week, which of course, condolences to the whole Bafana contingent and the family members of the player himself. Meanwhile, Morocco did get past the Netherlands. Portugal beating Croatia. Of course, Spain knocking out Austria. USA beating Bosnia-Herzegovina. Meanwhile, Belgium beat Senegal. Hop on over to the other side of the bracket, round of 32. Brazil beat Japan. Norway beat Ivory Coast. Mexico took care of business against Ecuador. England, of course, needed a little bit extra time there to beat DR Congo. Argentina knocking out Cabo Verde. Egypt beating Australia via the penalties. Switzerland beating Algeria. And Colombia beating Ghana. So into the round of 16 we went. And the French eventually got past Paraguay to go through the quarterfinals. Morocco did beat one of the hosts, Canada. They went through. Spain knocking out Portugal, of course, ending Ronaldo's World Cup love affair, and Belgium beating the US of A. Meanwhile, the Norwegians beat Brazil with a bit of an upset. England getting over Mexico in the Azteca. Argentina making it a bit of hard work against Egypt, and Switzerland again using penalties to beat Colombia to go through to the quarterfinals. And here we go then. Of course, it was France coming by Morocco, Spain getting past Belgium, England beating Norway, and of course, and at the bottom of the screen there we saw Argentina make it through to the final 4 to set up a nice semi-final against England as France take on Spain. Alright then folks, let's get into those semi-finals then. Of course, they're coming at you this coming Tuesday and Wednesday. That's right, we've got an all-European affair between France and Spain, and then we have of course, a rematch of the 1986 semi-final, wasn't it? Of course, England up against Argentina. So let's get in the deep end and take a look at these 2 matchups. First and foremost, let's take a look at France then, coming into this fresh off the back of that 2-0 win over Morocco. Of course, they've been pretty much faultless so far at this World Cup, yet to taste defeat, and have scored a whole lot of goals so far. I'm looking at, 13 goals in the previous 5 games at this World Cup. The defence has also been pretty solid, just conceding the 2. Of course, up against Spain, though, also pretty much airtight at the back. They did concede their first goal at this last game against Belgium, 2-1 winners for them towards the back end of it. It's been a couple of last-minute goals there for Spain to navigate through into those, to get the results in their favour, both in the round of 16 and the quarterfinals. But they've got goals in abundance, of course, from the bench as well. Nico Williams is starting to get fitter and more healthier. Now, these two nations, of course, have played each other a whopping, I think, 11 times in recent years. 3 wins for the French, just 7 wins for Spain, and there's been 1 draw. The most recent match between these two sides was a 5-4 win for Spain. It was in the Nations League back in 2025. It was June the 5th. 2-0 winners it was. Actually, 5-4 winners it was for Spain. In fact, it's been back-to-back wins for Spain, with France's last victory back also in the Nations League in 2021. Both nations, of course, coming through their groups pretty much faultless. But this game is something else. Of course, France have been, the story of this tournament. They've been unbeatable. They've got goals in abundance. But Spain are well organised, well drilled, and of course got a really solid defence. So it's going to come down to who wants it the most. Of course, Spain haven't won the World Cup since 2010. It's been a long time ago. Or maybe this might be a World Cup too soon. They are the European champions. Of course, they are riding on a bit of success at the moment. The French looking for revenge, of course, from the last World Cup, which of course they did lose to Argentina. They're hoping to go to the final yet again, which we've got with 3 finals in a row. And honestly, really, it does look like it's going to have to take something freakish to beat this French team. I can't see anything but a win for the French. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win. All right, then, folks, England up against Argentina. A tale old as time. Now, these two nations are familiar foes, having played each other 5 times, stretching back till records began. Just 1 win for Argentina, 3 wins for England, and there's been 1 draw. The most recent win was, in fact, a 1-0 win for England, all the way back in 2002. Goodness gracious me. Sweet revenge. That was in the David Beckham era, I do believe. Meanwhile, the significant victory was for Argentina way back in 1986, the Hand of God moment, which saw England knocked out at the World Cup at an important stage, which of course led to Argentina picking up a victorious trophy at the end of it. Now, both nations coming into this after a pretty solid World Cup journeys. Of course, Argentina have been scoring for fun. They've actually scored 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 14 goals in the last 5 games. That's averaging just shy of 3 goals a game. England also pretty much bang in form right now, coming into this, scoring a whole ton of goals as well, with of course the big victory over Norway, of course the wins over Mexico, which not necessarily are the most difficult of games, but they are rigid opponents, of course. And if we're going to be completely honest with you, England have had a bit of an easy pathway to get to this semi-final stage. But on the flip side, Argentina's journey has been even easier, with, of course, taking on Cabo Verde, Egypt, and then Switzerland. So haven't really faced much in their journeys in this. In fact, the whole of World Cup, I think both nations have had really easy passageways, which I don't know, could be a blessing or a curse when it comes back to the important matter of this match. This match, of course, comes to England have showed some fight amongst themselves of late, but Argentina do have something else, a bit of a difference maker in Lionel Messi. Of course, they had that never say die attitude. It might be a bit of a helter-skelter game, this one. It might even, once again, go the distance. I'm going to go with a 1-1 scoreline. This time, though, Argentina winning it. So that's once again that fantastic final, France-Argentina 2.0. And of course, who's going to come out on top on this one? Well, of course, we're going to have to come back again to see if I'm right first and foremost, and then we'll make a call for the World Cup final. Who will become the champion once again? Will it be France? Will it be Argentina? We'll, of course, get into all of that another day. But that's what I've got. Let me know what you've got. Of course, I look forward to seeing you and more when we return for, of course, the World Cup finals indeed. We've got the previews. We've got the cap predictions. Make sure you come back for all of those. But until then, though, subscribe, smash the like, catch you later. We're done.